Don't really want to do a long intro, so let's get right into the review. Balloonerism so far is one of the best albums of 2025 and adds a lot more depth to one of the best points in Mac Miller's career. Since his passing, Mac Miller has had his legacy respectfully preserved by his estate, but still showcased some of the incredible music he's made. Mac Miller's Balloonerism, released earlier this year, impressed the listener with its unique instrumentals and Mac's scattered flows throughout. Balloonerism is the second and probably final posthumous album released by his estate, with the first being Circles in 2020. And while having tracks with really different goals, all the tracks on the album come together to form a really cohesive, beautiful piece, which was shown in the short film that was released alongside the album. The album came from the same sessions that produced his classic mixtape Faces. Compared to Faces, Miller's flow sounds a lot more monotonous. The instrumentals are more minimalist. That's a similarity I'll be making a lot, the similarity between Balloonerism and Faces, but it's a really easy similarity to make across the various recording sessions that produced the two tracks, because they were recorded at the same time. In many ways, Balloonerism complements Faces as a sister album, but this one contains a bit more sonic diversity and doesn't have the same amount of features. It sounds kind of like it came off a dusty shelf, same dusty shelf that Faces came off of, but it doesn't sound dated at all. Whether it's the brooding synthesizer that underlines Shangri-La, or the elegant jazz club sounds of Funny Papers, the production drives the beats with simple, repetitive beats and percussion, creating a spacious soundscape for Mac Miller to rap over. However, the jazz rap, familiar to Mac from Faces, only shows one side of the album, with the other half having a lot more eccentric music, even more than him at his best on Faces. Although he didn't explore some of the sounds on his album in his future career, with albums such as Swimming, Circles, and The Divine Feminine, Balloonerism offers a glimpse into what his career could have been if he didn't dive more into R&B and other genres on his future careers, like the albums I just mentioned. Balloonerism contains some of his most unique and experimental work yet, and he pushed himself to make more unusual music. It even contains his longest song yet, with the nearly 12-minute song, Tomorrow We'll Never Know. The album starts with some of its most unusual music, with DJ's chords, organs, ambient, and repetitive sounds. The song sounds eerily familiar as it takes you through some of the analog synthesizers, and SZA's feature sounds really good and complements the unique soundscape of that track as well. In the introduction, the 30-minute song, Tambourine Dream, shows Mac's more eclectic influences as just a tambourine instrumental. SZA also appears on the trippy Night in the City sounds of Friendly Hallucinations later in the album. Thundercat also appears in some songs here, but his presence underlines more of the album without the same command as SZA. Balloonerism plays almost like a pre-recorded message to the listener, time capsule that isn't supposed to be opened until now. From the album recorded by someone in his early 20s who's only a few years off of making kids and all of the frat rap that he did earlier, the lyricism on this album is surprisingly mature. The album covers drugs on many of the different tracks, while Miller was taking many different ones at the time. He tackles his addiction and what it could mean for his future. Some tracks, like Miss Deborah Downer, sound like a grim prediction of what his future could be as he grapples with substance abuse, not into his unfortunate demise in 2018. Much of the beats on this album focus on the piano. Further developing his artistic style on Faces, Shangri-La and Excelsior bring beautiful piano melodies, even if they don't always draw from jazz, like Faces did. The piano's presence shows more of Mac taking control of the actual composition of the tracks, something that he actually did do further with his future albums like The Divine Feminine, Good AM, and Circles and Swimming. One of the most interesting parts of the album is the feature from his alter ego Delusional Thomas, which is just a pitch-up version of his own voice and slightly different flow. Stands out like a sore thumb, with pitched-up vocals, the song's spoken word intro, and the unstable piano beat throughout the song. It's kind of similar to DJ's chord organ, and it sounds like a piece that he made around the same time as DJ's chord organ, and has this really unique sound throughout. I'm not entirely sure what he was going for with that, because it's the only song credited to Mac Miller with a Delusional Thomas feature, as all the other Delusional Thomas features are from a mixtape. Mac Miller's monotonous delivery of his lyrics throughout the album also signifies a shift in his music. Keeping the minimalist beats, he lets his lyrics and gravely serious flow shine. He's in a weird spot, not quite the same party rapper that he used to be, but not quite the same live performer that he would become. He hasn't quite ventured out into R&B and other genres yet, which he did shortly after the release of this album. It's in this awkward transition phase that Balloonerism shines, a unique moment in his career that feels like a slightly less thorough self-examination than Faces, not to diminish Balloonerism itself. It's barely February, and Miller's already released several songs that I might put on my best list at the end of the year. Miller gives a deep philosophical question of the media and its role in his life and the lives of everyone on Funny Papers, and I'm sure it would have sounded incredible if he'd been able to perform it live. The heartfelt jazz instrumental makes it sound incredible, and the spoken word intro gives it some melancholy, almost as if he's talking to a child in the start. It also contrasts with my other favorite song on the album, the upbeat and funky $5 Pony Rides. There's a good reason his estate released this as the first single. It's got a really catchy hook, really fun instrumental throughout, and sounds the closest to his later work compared to anything else. And it's close to the music that he would go on to do more, starting with Good AM. As a whole, Balloonerism will probably be the last Mac Miller project release, because this was recorded a lot earlier, and I don't know what else his estate could do. I think that his estate, if they want to preserve his legacy respectfully, will probably release this as his last album, and we won't hear any more for a long time. The project is a gift, falls right into the modern scope of music, and only embellishes his already impressive discography. He's already displayed how prolific he is with all those early mixtapes, and then his consistency later in his career, and it's impressive that he made this music at the same time as the already stretched out Faces, which goes on for over an hour. Miller once again displays his artistic talent, may he rest in peace, and this album is definitely my favorite of the year so far. I don't think many will overtake it when it comes to the end of the year, and even right now, over a decade after it was recorded, it still sounds incredible.